Hey, hey, this is Tiger. Welcome to my stream. NHE, good evening to you. I hope your week was less busy than my week was. So, I just made it in time back and we are tackling a new DLC, and this takes us to Scotland. The one a city radar once wrote, the one with the big bridge. And this is what we are going to see today. Spectre, hey, good evening. Nice to see you in the chat. I hope you had a great week. And you will be happy joining us to Scotland. I will just have to turn off a light. Super Paul, great to see you on the chat. Good evening to you. So, now the light is off. The game is booting up. And we're just running nicely through Scotland. Just getting familiar with the DLC. Playing two scenarios in the Fife Circle Line in Scotland to see the sights and to get familiar with the line. It's actually interesting that two of the three Scottish DLCs are circle lines, whereas there are no circle lines in any other DLCs as far as I know, right? Spectre says, nice, I have to say your video last week inspired me to pull out Blackpool branches again, and I hope you had fun with it. I still think that Blackpool branches is really one of the best DLCs that I've seen so far in the recent months. Maybe I'm lagging behind a bit with my knowledge here, because I did not really buy so many of the newer DLCs. But anyway, Blackpool Branches is really nice, and I just enjoy running those old British diesels. Today we are running a British diesel that is not so super old, a British Railways Class 170 Turbostar, I think it is the name. We had the Pacer last week with the 140 family, the 150 family will be the Sprinters, and then the 160 will be the Networkers, with the Networkers Turbo on 165, 166. And then the 170s series is the DMU Turbostar, if I'm not mistaken, and getting things out of order. Welcome to the lovely Fife Circle. We will be operating a specialized tourist service that runs across the Forth Bridge and along the coast to Kirkcaldy. Along the way, you will make several stops and scenic destinations around the Firth Forth to give passengers the opportunity to take pictures. And we are at Edinburgh Waverly station, one of the few stations in Great Britain that I actually have been to in real life a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, at the time when I was not so super fond of railways at that time, so I did not pay too much attention. But I always was inspired and fascinated how this station fits into the city centre in Edinburgh, more or less on a second level, with the parks and stuff just on top of it. And we have a piano that can actually make a sound without us doing a lot to it. It has those nice seals that can be collected as collectibles, obviously. And I thought, oh no, they are so cute, I won't collect them. But since I collected one by mistake, I know now that they don't vanish if you collect them, but they just get a fish added or something like this. So no hesitation in collecting the seals. Yeah, Edinburgh Waverly station and our Turbostar. From the cap, British DMUs. Sometimes you might want to say you've seen one, you've seen them all. But this is obviously intentional, so that you can get quite easily to driving those trains. Day running. Taillights are sometimes on in the scenarios on the cab that you are driving from. So we have the safety systems on. We want the GSMR on. Test it. Test OK. Our PIS gives us Kirkcaldy as the destination that we're running up. Why we have a second one down here, I don't know. The horn is actually an interesting one because it does not only go up and down, but is supposed to be going left and right, but you cannot do it with the mouse, but with the N key and the Shift N key. So that is a interesting mechanic where you can actually do more with the keyboard shorts than you can do with the mouse and the switch in the actual model. Here is the legend for it, so you know what tone you get when moving this horn joystick. Wipers, we don't know. Doors actually work even without inserting the switch here, but nevertheless I think inserting the switch here, if you're driving in drivers only mode, will be the proper thing to do. This screen has some indicators that work, but not much more. Juniper, hey Tiger, I'm so glad to be watching you tonight. You're really helping me through some tough times right now, so thank you endlessly for that. I'm so happy to hear that, and I hope the times will soon be getting less hard, Juniper. So nice to have you in the chat. Yeah, let's see where we are. Edinburgh Waverly is actually a very interesting station because it is more or less the big version of Ormskirk. You have a lot of bay platforms coming from both ends that are not connected, and a handful of lines only that are running through. And if you look at it on the sectional appendix, the lines that are ending here coming from the other side, and what is coming here from the right in the map is actually the very end of the East Coast main line. So that thing that we have the Asumas on, and Peterborough Doncaster in our game here. So this would be the very end of the East Coast main line, ending in Edinburgh Waverly here, coming from the other direction. And our DLC happens towards west, and you know this part because that is the part that gets you to Glasgow from the Glasgow Edinburgh Express. And we will actually be branching off here, and then here is the Firth of Forth and the scenic bridge until we get here. And at Inverkeithing we have this branching off, have the inner line and the outer line, and here is the coast more or less. And then this is this new Leven branch that was added a couple of months ago. And expect this is the Scottish Dresden Hauptbahnhof. Yeah, that is true. Dresden has a quite similar setup with bay platforms in the middle and the lines that are running through on the outside. Yeah, and this is the 11. We will have this in a different video, I think. By the way, can I have the Google Maps view on my stream? I have it here in the background because it is actually quite interesting where all this stuff is happening. And maybe if we're doing a scenic route scenario here, then we should actually know where we are in the real world. So maybe we should try getting this on the stream. Scottish twist, no pun of true enough. So plus it should be a display capture. Yes, that's good enough. Can you see it already on the stream? I think you should. So now you are. This I can kick out, and we have more room. So this is where we are. Edinburgh and Edinburgh Waverly, directly in the inner city. This is what I find so cool about this station, because it is in the inner city. You have the National Galleries that you can actually see because we are running underneath them in a tunnel. And yeah, this is North Bridge. Is more or less the main connector between the old town in the south and the new town in the north. You have the castle that we are passing when we're running out of the city. Here's our rail track, Edinburgh Castle. The thing is, I've got all my impressions from Edinburgh more or less from Ian Rankin's Inspector Rebus books. So when I first got to Edinburgh in real life, I knew all the stuff from the books before I actually saw it in real life. Then Edinburgh Castle, the castle wall, also Salisbury Cracks, when we were going on a hike here. Well, I think Edinburgh is a really, really beautiful and fascinating city. Yeah, this is where our line leaves the city. We will pass the stadium here, Murrayfield, where we actually stop in the middle of the line. And this is, as far as I know, mainly a rugby union station, where Scotland plays the Six Nations games, for example. And then we are branching off through here, for example, South Gyle, Dalmeny, and then we get to the Forth Bridge here, passing this little isle with Inverkeithing Castle on it. We can also see the two bridges for the cars. To the left then will be the A9000, what is the Forth Road Bridge, and then far away for the M90 motorway, the Queensferry crossing. And this gets you across this Firth of Forth, which is obviously quite a big arm of the North Sea, right? This is the North Sea where it comes in. And here we have to get over this, because then we want to go to Fife, and Fife is more or less this peninsula here. Very important for the Scottish history, especially in the Middle Ages, maybe you want to call it. And we will go on the outer loop, and the outer loop will get us here at Inverkeithing to Dalgety Bay and through Aberdour, Burnt Island, Kinghorn, Kirkcaldy, and then we will go back a bit to the inland again, Thornton here. Here comes the other branch in, and then we will end somewhere around here. Where is it? Mark Inch. So that is the last station here in our DLC. and we have one line that is running around the coast, and then here in the other line is going here through Rosyth, and then Dunfermline, Loch Gelly, Cardenden, and Thornton, and then to Markinch, and added was this branch here to Leven. What, correct me if I'm wrong, is not actually built and operational yet, but that is planned, because those pictures are here from 2025. And if you want to have a look at Leven Station, for example, there is not so much station and track yet to see here, right? Those pictures are from 21. Okay, this is not really telltale, but even on the 25 pictures it is not yet to see, but it is in the 2024 sectional appendix. You can see it on the 2023 sectional appendix. We will look at this closer when we're going the Leven branch that is in the DLC. In the 23 sectional appendix there is only a line that was before that, still getting coal to a power plant there. Yeah, and now I think we can play the game a bit. But I always like to get my bearings where we actually run about. So we lock the doors. What is a bit annoying, because the light is red and it does not turn to green unless we lock the doors. But if you think back to the Glossop line and our video dealing with station dispatch and stuff, actually we are not allowed to close the doors until we get a proceed aspect. CD Radar says fancy. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what you're calling fancy, but I totally agree. Train is a train from the 90s. So a bit of the era that we have the 425 in Germany, for example, or the 423, roughly. What is obviously an EMU, this is a DMU, but also the same, if I'm not mistaken, same companies had their fingers in the pie there. Expect this vicious circle with the signals and the doors. Yeah, actually in the Blackpool branches the signal switches to green if the time comes up. So if the departure time is reached, the signal switches to green, and you can wait actually for it. In Rivet DLCs they sometimes have their scenarios and timetables built in a way that the signal does not switch to green before you close the doors, and that puts you in this vicious circle that you cannot actually leave the station ever, because you're not allowed to close the doors before you get a proceed aspect, and you will never get a proceed aspect before you close the doors. Oh well. Here is Edinburgh Castle to the left. Just let's have this on photo mode so that we can enjoy it a bit. Here the castle walls, and actually the first thing that I heard about Edinburgh Castle was reading Inspector Rebus books, where the first scene was that the first corpse in the book dropped from those castle walls and was found somewhere around down here. I think it was the book with the G7 summit in Edinburgh. Well, Super Paul, but could you say that the message at the top left to close the doors is an order from the conductor, right? Yes, you can say that the guard is telling you to close the doors. Question is, why does he not close the doors himself if he is on board? You should be able to do this on this train. And apart from that, it does not dispense you from the general rules. Even the guard cannot dispense you from doing something that you're not allowed to do from according to the rules, right? Maybe the signaller can. That might be possible if the signaller says, well guys, please close your doors, so I cannot switch my signal otherwise. But the guard, I don't think that he has authority to allow you or even order you to close the doors if you don't have a proceed aspect. Haymarket, double yellow. From here line speed is 90. Well, we are supposed to stop at Murrayfield Stadium. So we can speed up a bit, but not too much. Especially since we are getting a yellow. And the brakes on this train are not so super aggressive. Takes you some time to get the train to a stop. Here you can already see the Murrayfield Stadium to the right. Also hosts like concerts, gigs, events and stuff. I think Robbie Williams and Oasis are scheduled to play there this year. Alright. Don't forget to set the DRA since we are stopping at the red signal. And this is the glorified stadium. We cannot really look inside it because it is too high and the camera cannot go so far. But at least we can see the outside. Whether this is a thing that you can actually do, have a train stop in the middle of on the open line for tourists to have the opportunity to take photographs, I don't know. Alright, now we are pausing. Can't. We have to wait for the signal to change. Maybe we spend so much time that we now have to let some train pass. Are you performing a Hillstart? Yeah, no. We get to a Hillstart later then. Interesting fact, this typically those brake handles here, they have a switch or like a button that you can press with your thumb here. You push this thing inwards for a hill start so that you can still apply like 1.5 bars of pressure in your brake cylinders and allow the engines to build up some power and then release the brakes with your thumb. And on the 465 networker, for example, I think you can actually do this with a mouse. Here there is a keyboard short. It is the key that typically applies the train brake. That is a toggle. Well, it's not a toggle, it's a hold down and release switch for the Hillstart brake. You can see how this thing moves inside and comes out again. But you cannot do it with your mouse, interestingly enough. So there are some hidden features of this train are in the shortcuts. So will you ever leave us? Let us go, or did I just spoof it by spending too much time in Edinburgh Waverly and broke the scenario? Wait for signal to change. It says stop. Well, as much. Is there any train anywhere that we might be waiting for? Actually, no train at all. It's a train sitting here. If you get annoyed by the vigilance by putting it to neutral, it will not annoy you. I'm a bit afraid that this signal will never change. Because it does not look that there is any train anywhere in this scenario. There is a train coming. There is a train coming that is, for whatever reason, running on the right track. And this might actually be the reason why we are not allowed to proceed here. Why this train is on the right track is not really self-explanatory. There is no way that this train can leave this track before he gets to the crossovers here. CD Radar says Prague Transport Company organizes once a month rides on historic metro trains combined with an excursion to the depot for transport enthusiasts. And one of the events on the program is a stop on the bridge over the pond in the middle of the line, and there is even a stop point installed directly for it. Alright, so it might be a thing that, with the proper precautions, this can be allowed. So where did my train go? It's still here on the way at Edinburgh Gateway to stop there. I wonder if this yard here can actually be accessed. Around here must be Edinburgh Airport. What always puzzles me is why there is no train station for the airport. Train stopping. Stop arrived at ins. In the scenarios they have weird names because they don't have their numbers, so it's just called AI Rosyth to Edinburgh. Stop arrived at instruction. Let's see if it will ever go on and relieve us from our permanent red position here. And why they are sending the track on the train on the right track? Nobody knows. Let's see if we actually can make it with the free camera. To Edinburgh Gateway, but it's 3.1 miles as the crow flies from our current position. So this is where we branch off from the line that goes to Glasgow. And now we should be getting closer to this culprit train. Oh, did it turn around? It seems... No, it seems that it proceeds. So where do you want to go? Edinburgh, it says. Interestingly, it says Edinburgh. On other trains going to Edinburgh Waverly, it says Waverly. So do you want to stop here as well? Looks like it. That is South Gyle. Passengers are already excited. So tell me, sis, why are you going on the right track? If we are routed on the right track as well. Let's see if we can see the airport from here. Because later we won't have a time for it. Yeah, I think this is part of the airport already. Here's the motorway. Here's this other thingy. And well, here are the runways. No, it's a parking lot. But here you can see the planes. In the background, there is actually the airport. Good. Let's wait for the scenery to come back. And maybe this train will finally... come. And see, the radar uses the time and asks, so how is life going? Well, it is going. Quite busy at work. Last week I've been doing the job for not less than 3 of my colleagues, together with my own job. So, as everywhere, we are understaffed and overworked. But it will work somehow. So, train, where are you coming? Let's see where it is going. Now it's coming in. You can see those signals are not even for the direction of this train here. This line is not signaled in the direction that this train is going. Oh, here, there is one. There is one. And now it is coming. I hope that it gets a junction signal there. And it is going to the right. And doesn't run into us. First one missed. There's one. Now it's going out of the way. Could be a bug suspector. I would not be the only one in the game. No hate, just saying. Well, but it moved out of our way. So, and the signal cleared. See? Yeah, train, here you are. Ah, maybe I should relieve the DRA at some point. That could make things easier. Then we can actually get some power. CD Radar says DRA. Yeah, please always remind me of the reminder appliance. A driver reminder appliance for the driver reminder appliance would be nice, Spectre. Yes. We talked about this golf ball shooting by the signaler. Well, it actually would help if the red light on the DRA would actually be more conspicuous. Driver, you have reset the DRA. Please check the signals as the radar. Yes, that could help a lot. But guys, we are going. Penny store. What is really impressive is the sound insulation. You almost hear no sound here in the cab. Just compare it. Window closed, window open, window closed, window open. It's really a soft ride. And now we are diverging from the express line to Glasgow. In the DLC you can also play the Glasgow Express, but only from Edinburgh to Haymarket. What is, in my opinion, not so super exciting. But this is the only station that is in the DLC here. So 75 on the bend, and then we can actually accelerate as far as we get. 90 I think it was. 100 is maximum authorized speed for this train. But it always takes a bit to get this train up to speed. That should be South Gyle here. Passengers are still excited. Now passing Edinburgh Gateway. Looks nice in my opinion. Dalmeny. Super Paul requests a drive-by. Here you are, and another one. It is too fast for me, this drive by. Doesn't get better. But we're actually speeding. 90 it is. That actually happens to me quite a lot. Why did it not? We actually were lucky because we ran into the part where we can actually go 100 just in time, so we're not speeding. So this is the high speed part in this DLC. This short thingy. And now I should pay attention because we have to slow down again so at some point when we're closing in. Yeah, here was the preliminary speed indicator. Hard to read with the speed here. That will slow us down to 80 first. And then later to, what is it? 50 actually. Now at high speed it makes a strange noise in the cab. Yeah, this whirring sound at high speed is true. But that should be the 80 marker. Interestingly enough, we are driving by the speeds that are signaled for HST trains, for the high speed trains. Or is usually only reserved for the class 73 or something, or for the Pendolino. But this is what the game is giving us in accordance to... Oh. Should slow down to 50 here. Don't want to derail. Here is the 50 wish because we're going out on the 4th bridge. And this obviously is spectacular here. 4th bridge, 4th road bridge, and then the Queensferry crossing. And now we're stopping right on the bridge. You get sometimes weird artifacts or reflections that are not really self-explanatory why they are there, but altogether the sea, the water looks much better than in older DLCs. If I think back what the water looked like in the first versions of the Isle of Wight that I had, then we have come a long way. Here's that isle with the castle. What's the name again? I have to check the map. inch something. Inverkeithing. And we're going on. This time I think of, let's see if this red light in the DRA would be a bit brighter, then you wouldn't need a driver reminder appliance. Train driver union rejects your golf ball idea, suspect. It was not my idea. I don't remember who came up with this when we were talking about the golf clubs in the signaling box. I think it's Salvik. I think Lofty said this. So, we don't stop here, we just run through. It's going downhill a bit, so we have to brake through the tunnel. I think this was the stop called Queensferry. And we will stop on the bridge here at the inner bay. So, you can see why this is called the inner bay. One-minute pause for photo shoots. Yeah, but this is scenery-wise challenging, I think, to implement properly, because if you have those great heights and altitudes, you always have to make sure that you really make or build some working streets, and you cannot really hide this the way that you can hide it if you're working on one plane level. And I think Rivet did a great job here. Next one's Silversands Bay. 50 still. Now we're getting closer to Inverkeithing. And the fork. Next speed limit that I missed, it's 40 here when getting through Inverkeithing. Or is it not yet Inverkeithing? No, it is. And here is the fork. To the left we get to Dunfermline, and to the right we get to Kirkcaldy, more or less. Back to 50, and we have some miles to go before we get to Silversands Bay. Or even higher, because we are a high-speed train. At least we are running on the limits that are signaled for high-speed trains. So 75 we can go. At the moment we can't see that we are close to the shoreline, but in a bit we will be just running along the shore. What is that one? Dalgety by. There is no speed limit, but for Aberdour we have to slow down to 50. I think we should get an AWS warning before we have to slow down to the 50 at Aberdour. Still no sea to the right, but soon enough we will get there. So now we are getting closer to our maximum allowed speed. And here's already the moped board for the 50. So slow down. I think at the next bridge there should be the 50 mark. And here it is. In this direction, the speed limits at the station are quite convenient. Aberdour, ladies and gentlemen, Aberdour. Speed limits are convenient because they increase in 2 steps when you're running into this direction. In the opposite direction you have to be more wary because they correspondingly decrease in 2 steps. Now we have to be careful because in 1 mile we have to stop out on the open track. Going back to 75 limit, so we can just roll a bit in here. Here is the North Sea. Even on step 3, those brakes don't feel like kicking everyone out of their seats. So, dear tourists, you can take some scenic shots. What was the next station here? After Aberdour, I think it was Burnt Island. Here, yeah, Burnt Island. Not like I first thought when I read it. It is not Burntisland, but it's Burnt Island. Yes, amazing scenery. I would love to be there in real life. I actually have been 1 time in my life to Fife. When I spent some time in Edinburgh, we circled for 1 week through Scotland. So from Edinburgh to Glasgow and then to the north. Oban, Isle of Skye, through the Highlands, Loch Ness, and then coming in from the northwest into Fife, visiting St. Andrews, and then back to Edinburgh and home. Not scarcely enough time. It was overwhelmingly beautiful. So you can't really see a difference in the lighting of the DRA, right? So, Burnt Island Harbour. Always have to pay attention that I don't read Burntisland. But it's a burnt island. What did we get the warning for? Limits of 40 at the burnt island. That we can do. Here the 40. Here the harbour. Oops. I would did it a bit with the brakes. But here we go. But this happens if you focus on the scenery too much. Burnt Island Harbour. Here's one of those seals. I was always wary not to touch them because I did not want them to just vanish like other collectibles, but they don't vanish, they just get a fish. To play with or eat or whatever, and they stay in the game, so you can just collect them. Next thing that we will be stopping at is the King Alexander III monument. What actually took me a bit to find it. And City Raider says the advantage of the subway. What was the advantage of the subway? I already forgot what I said. No scenery at all. Yeah, that's true. And even that, if you think of all the legends about subway lines and subway stations in the London Underground, Aldwych and the passing loop at Piccadilly Circus. Not that spectacular, and I think a bit for nerdy people. But also scenery. Scarcely the shore and the sea, though, I give you that. If you see water from your subway train, then there might be a problem. In my out of it, yes I am. But I don't need to go so fast, because in 0.8 miles we have to stop again for the King Alexander III monument. In case you wondered what King Alexander that is, it was obviously a Scottish king. King Alexander of Alba, I think, from the 13th century. A time when the Scottish kings were always fighting, litigating, battling, discussing with the Norwegian kings. And if I remember correctly, and this king got the Western Isles, the Outer Hebrides, and something else to Scotland. The Isle of Man, I think, was Scottish at the time. So, and if you wonder where this monument is, it is right here next to the road, depicting this guy Alexander III with some memorial plaque. I think it was built in the 19th century by a guy with the ultra Scottish name Hippolyte Chamblon, who was nevertheless a Scottish architect. How we are supposed to take pictures from this memorial from our train, I'm not entirely sure. But it is nice to do this in the game. And the Raider says you might be surprised how much water there is usually. Well, you're probably right. Oops. I'd be surprised. Spectre says the route would probably go well with a Roger Whittaker record playing in the background. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with the works of Roger Whittaker. All about immersions, Spectre, yes. And for me, Scotland, Edinburgh, Fife is always connected with Ian Rankin and Inspector Rebus, and for someone else, it might be Roger Whittaker. So, Fife Coastal Path. Where's... I think this is already the stop at Kirkcaldy. What about... Oh, we have to slow down for Kinghorn and this hard... Not Kinghorn, Kinghorn. And here we are. 30 even, not 35. Well then, 30. Kinghorn. Somewhere later on there is a town called King's Kettle, and this is Kinghorn. Probably talking about the horn that the king was drinking from. nice church, close to the sea, and the increase to 65. Boo boo boo. Why are you saying boo boo boo? What did I do that make you boo? Yeah, look at that. You have to pay attention for Kirkcaldy would be 65 again. Until then I can go 75. Here's still 75. For us, here's another football stadium. This time actually a football stadium, soccer stadium. For the Wraith Rovers, I think. That beep every few seconds is me releasing the vigilance pedal. For some reason, even if I only release it for a second, it gives you this beep. Poor Q. Yeah, it's not for me the Q. For me it's the caps lock. Like the Sifa. Q is the AWS. The vigilance pedal is the caps lock key. So now we're getting into Kirkcaldy. And I think that the scenario ends here, so I'm just enjoying the last bits with the train coasting in place. And the Fife coastal path, I don't know if it is actually represented anywhere. That was for the Red Signal. And here we are. Yeah. Put it into neutral, then it won't annoy us. Here we can see the routes again. This is where we started, Edinburgh Waverly. This is where we waited so long until we were allowed to diverge to the right past South Gyle, Edinburgh Gateway, Dalmeny. And here we crossed the bridge and North Queensferry. And here we stopped at the inner bay at Inverkeithing. We took the right at the branch past Dalgety Bay, Aberdour, and then we were at the coastline, Burntisland. And we stopped at the Harbour, I think, Kinghorn. That was the memorial. And then we proceeded until we stopped here at Kirkcaldy. And we could go on and get to Mark Inch. And then there is the other line where we would go to the left at Inverkeithing, go to Rosyth, then Firmland City, then Firmland Queen Margaret. What I've read, the longest station name in Scotland, because it is named after the hospital that is there. Cowdenbeath, Loch Gelly, Cardenden, and then Glenrothes with Thornton before we come back to our line. And we will have a special stream, I think, about this 11 branch that is still to be built, but already in the sectional appendix. It is a nice scenario. Oops. I thought about playing one scenario where we go one time full around the circle, but I got so much rain and I have a bit of a problem with FPS at the moment in rain and thunderstorm after the last update. In my driver update I have like periodically occurring FPS drops every couple of seconds in a thunderstorm, and let's see if I can fix it somehow before I play more rain again. Comes hard because the February challenge requires you to go in the rain, but we will probably be able to do this somehow. I closed the doors and I think I will leave it at that today. It was the shortest stream, but let's have it with this scenario. And thank you for completing this run. Let's see how you performed. Not so great, I'm afraid. Both, yeah, a lot of speeding and a lot of bumpy driving, but nevertheless, he got us where we are, and we enjoyed a lot of nice views in this route. Next week, I think I will be back with it. I have not really found anything particular in the signaling. It is all track circuit block with axle counters, more or less. No exciting signals so far. If I spot something, I will pick it up and do something about it. So I'm not entirely sure where I can make a tutorial out of it, but it is definitely worth running it, buying it, and playing it, and enjoying it. Sometimes I've made like 120 tutorials now on the channel. If you have any ideas about topics, about things that need to be explained or investigated, just let me know. Until then, I will play scenarios. I will talk about the localities that we are, and this is not the worst thing actually. Everything is much more interesting than you think at the beginning, and if you start reading it up, then it gets more and more interesting still. So thank you guys, thank you for bearing with me, and have a nice week. Take care, be nice to each other, and get through those hard times that we all have to endure. Papa says, thanks, good night. Spectre says, thanks for the stream. And CD Raider says, fancy. Thank you so much, guys, and see you. Bye-bye.